This video is sponsored by Millernote. Getting the best photos from a photography shoot or trip requires a lot of planning. So in today's video I'm sharing a foolproof way of getting the most from your next photo adventure.
Hello and welcome back to the channel, and a happy new year to you as well. So today I'm hoping to capture a couple of landscape photos, a couple of shots that I've kind of got earmarked in my diary, if you like, to come back to, because I want the sun to be in a specific place, and January is, I think, ideal for that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing if I can come up with something good this afternoon. I'm also going to be talking about planning your photography trips. So a lot of work goes into kind of behind the scenes approach to capturing the best photos when we're away on a more of a longer trip, if you like, because I think the pressure's on a little bit more, isn't it, then when we've travelled a large distance. We want to make sure we capture the best photos. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that today as well, and how I sort of bring all that information together to make sure we get the best photos. So let's head on down this coastal path and see if we can come up with some dramatic images today. I think there's a common theme that many successful photographers follow when it comes to capturing the best shots during a photography trip. And I've learned that leaving it to luck is probably the least successful approach of them all. So how do the top photographers ensure they make the most of their trips? Well, it's all about planning, and I'm not just referring to picking an image from a guidebook. I'm talking about hours of map study, weather forecasting, route planning, and having several backup options that can work depending on the conditions at any given time. So I believe scouting is one of the most valuable ways to discover new areas to photograph. And I always try to allocate time to scout new locations on every single trip I take. For example, during the summer months when the best light is at sunrise and sunset, I use the middle part of the day when I'm not shooting to find new locations. Personally, I enjoy the adventure side of photography trips as much as actually taking the photos. So most of my trips are centered around hikes. Essentially, I'm looking for hikes that seem to offer good potential, but I'm also seeking areas with hikes that cater to different weather conditions, providing me with multiple options. Once I have a potential hike selected, I like to use Google Earth to identify potential photographic opportunities along the trail. I then start planning the finer points of my trip from there. However, it's how we tie all of that information together that can make all of the difference. And I'll be sharing how I do this in just a second. But first, let's go and capture this shot of this amazing waterfall by the beach. So I have my shot framed up here vertically. I've got my 13mm wide angle lens on and a couple of filters too. And the reasoning behind that is, although I've got a wide angle lens on, and typically you don't use a circular polarizer when you've got a wide angle lens on, for this particular shot there's so many highlights coming in from the right hand side. So I think it's crucial for this shot, because there's a lot of cloud detail in the sky, we're not getting any sort of darker patches to the sky, which is good. Typically, if you use a circular polarizer when it's a blue sky day, you might find that you've got half of the sky a darker blue than the other, which is not necessarily that pleasing. But for this instance, because there's a lot of cloud detail in the sky, it's not really affecting the shot that way. And it is really, really helping. I've also got a 3-stop filter on, and that's given me a 1/5 of a second, just helping to show some motion in the waterfall that we've got down here in the foreground. So the waterfall is our main foreground interest, if you like, which I think is really nice. I'm at f10, ISO 200 to get that 1/5 of a second. I think shutter speed is crucial for this shot. Any slower than a 1/5 of a second and that water turns to milky, sludgy kind of effect, which I'm not too keen on. So I want to show movement, but I don't really want to show, too much movement, if you like. But yeah, I've been sat here for about an hour now, just waiting for something to happen in the sky, waiting for that perfect moment of light. And it's just about being patient. But yeah, I've taken a few already, and I'll continue to take a few more. And then, yeah, we'll see what we can come up with. I do think there's a few other possible areas I'd like to explore later on. But I think it's time to talk about how I bring all of the information together for planning a photography trip. So I'm going to head back quickly to the office, we're going to talk about that, then we're going to come back here for sunset and hopefully capture a couple more images. Fingers crossed.
once I've gathered all of this information for planning a photo shoot, I like to tie it all together so it's all in one place. And the app I use for this is called Millernote. So let's open the laptop and I'll show you exactly how it works. Millernote is a fantastic app that helps collect notes, photos, videos, tasks and group them all together in a way that helps us to organise creative projects. It really is a bit of a game changer. So I'm planning a trip to Snowdonia very soon. I started to plan my trip using Millernote. So let's come over to the Snowdonia trip on the left, and this takes us to the Snowdonia board where you can see an overview of the whole trip. Now I've got checklists of things I need to buy, useful information such as my journey, local weather and my hotel booking. I've also got my itinerary on here too, which is all laid out in a way that I can view it quickly. Each one of these icons is a new board, so if we click day 1 for example, we can see my possible itinerary for that day. And I've split this into 2 options depending on the weather, so I can instantly decide on which hike I'm going to take depending on how things are working out. Now, if we go back to the overview board, I've also got a packing list, which is great because I can bring this up on my smartphone. And as I pack my camera gear, I can check items off as I go, making sure that there is nothing left behind, which is super useful. Another great addition is my scouting board. And as you can see here, there's a collection of scouting photos that I've taken of areas that I think may offer potential, which is really good. And I can take a look at these then when I'm out in the field. You can also use Millernote's web clipper to gather inspiration from the web. So say you're looking for images from a certain area, you can just take that image into your board and it will display the image with a link back to the website, which is really handy as well. One of the things I absolutely love about Millernote is just how easy it is to use. Now I've built these boards myself, but they've got over 100 different built-in templates that you can use to get you started. Now Millernote is available for free with no time limit, so if you fancy being super organised on your next photography trip, be sure to check out the link in the description to get started with Millernote. Before we head back to the coast, I just wanted to go over why I specifically wanted to shoot this waterfall image in late December or early January, because I think it ties in well with planning your photo shoots. This is something I've had planned for quite some time. So as we can see, we've got light on the waterfall and the cliff face on the left hand side, and what I wanted was the sun to be as low as possible in the sky but coming from the side. So it really is a very short window of opportunity. The further we get on into the year, the higher that sun becomes, creating harsher, cooler light on the subject. So I would have absolutely loved to have shot this at sunset, but by the time the sun dips onto the horizon, it's further around to the right and it casts a shadow right across, splitting the waterfall into light and shadow, which didn't work at all. You've also got to try and tie in good flow coming down the waterfall as well, which only happens after prolonged periods of heavy rain. So it's all quite difficult to tie this together. I probably would have liked the sea to have been a bit further up the beach, more towards the pebbles, and maybe a little bit more drama in the sky. So maybe I will revisit this in the next few weeks, and it may even feature in another video coming in the next short while. But anyway, let's head back to the coast now, where I managed to capture a really special moment of beautiful light.
So there is plenty of drama in the sky now. Things have changed quite a lot. I've had a little bit of a rain shower, and yeah, I'm heading across this bridge just a second, and I'm hopeful that we can capture an image looking down the beach, because the light's looking pretty nice right now. So it'd be interesting to see what we can come up with on the end of this slippy headland. So for a split second there, we got some amazing light on the horizon. So I quickly grabbed my 70-300 lens, zoomed right into 300mm and captured a couple of frames as the light was separating the cliff faces. Looked absolutely beautiful. Sadly, I didn't really have time to do a piece to camera. I think I managed to capture a little bit of video footage, but yes, it was one of those moments, a fleeting moment, and you've got to make the most of them, haven't you? So hopefully I got a nice shot from there. I'll put that up in a second. And I think I might get set up here looking down the beach, and hopefully we'll get some nice light in the next half an hour or so, because this could look pretty special. There's a lot of atmosphere down here. So yeah, see what we can come up with. So I have a composition that I quite like the look of, right just here looking down the beach, and there's a real drama here. Looks absolutely wonderful. Got these amazing cliff faces, splash of colour on the top there from a gorse bush. We've got these fence posts here which are all weathered and battered with barbed wire hanging to them, and some prickly gorse down here in the foreground too. It's raining right now, there's light out there, so much going on. Right, I've got to be quick. So let me talk you through the composition I've finally got set up here. Now, it took me about 20 minutes to compose this shot, which is quite a long time. Sometimes it's quite easy, isn't it, when you approach a scene, everything seems to fit together quite well. This hasn't been like that at all, and mainly because I wanted to incorporate these old fence posts in the foreground. I wanted to introduce those as a foreground element, and they've been quite challenging to put together. Basically, there's 5 in total, and they look a little bit cluttered when there was 5 of them, so I've moved over to the left just to include 3. Now, what I've been very mindful of is in the midground we've got this rock slab which runs straight across the image, cuts right across it, and I've been very, very mindful not to let these 2 fence posts protrude over the top of it, because they're only just sticking up a little tiny bit and it felt uncomfortable. So I've made sure they're well below the top of that rock slab, which I think helps the composition. We're just really waiting for the light now, and it looks very dreary over there, so anything could happen, but whatever happens, I'll put the image up on the screen for you to take a look at now. So, being able to plan your photography trips is essential for getting the best photos, and it's something I like to do. I actually enjoy the planning process as well. Being able to bring all of that information together in one place is great. There's nothing worse, is there, than going on a trip and then maybe leaving some of your notes on your desk at home, not being able to find the right trailhead, or you're missing some information that will lead you to a hike. So being able to tie that information together is such a fantastic thing, and I think Milanote does that really, really well. This evening we didn't quite get the right light here for this composition on top of the cliffs here. The shot we got was quite moody, but I definitely think this is one worth revisiting, so I think I've learnt something, if nothing else, this evening. Quite like the waterfall shot from earlier on. The video up here will take you to another one all about taking great photos, which I'm sure you will love. If you enjoy this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for future content. Until next week, take care. I'll see you soon.